All right, so it's very possible that some things we say in this episode will sound a little disjointed. It's because a lot of these segments that we're using for tonight were actually recorded for the Avengers Endgame episode, which actually was already released, and it just wound up being way too long with all the segments in there. Our Avengers Endgame review was about an hour and a half because we did both non-spoiler and spoiler reviews. We got into Easter eggs. We got into some deep cuts in the MCU, so it just went on a little bit too long for it to exist within another episode. So I've cut some of those segments out and I'm putting them in here. So you may hear us mention that we're doing an Avengers Endgame review. You probably already heard that if you're a regular listener. If you haven't, go check it out. So instead, me and Jay, for this episode, we actually have a review for High Life, the Robert Pattinson film that actually came out back in Sundance back in 2018. I believe it was September of 2018. This movie actually got its first release, but now it's got a national release, and I believe you can even rent it on demand too. But me and Jay both saw that, so we're going to be doing a review for that. We do have some new news that we're going to be doing, and then we also have a trailer park for Sonic the movie. Yeah, we're going to have some fun at that film's expense. So I hope that you enjoy the show, and if it just seems a little bit disjointed, I apologize for that. We just had to make do with what we had.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
We are joined by my wife, Lauren. She looks super happy to be here, too.
Sorry, yeah. I am very happy. Thank you for having me.
All right, Jay, it's been a week since we got together, man. What have you been up to?
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry.
Well, you guys know a little bit about what I've been up to. A couple days ago, I was in El Paso, Texas, and also New Mexico on a work trip. Long story short, it was a bit of a disaster. It was me and another coworker of mine's responsibility to transport one of our clients to his home state of New Mexico since he's aged out of our facility. Many problems ensued, and a lot of variables happened that are kind of out of our control. And we were in a holding period where we did not know what the hell to do, stranded in the desert with a troubled young man. So
with a young man who is causing harm to himself and threatening harm to others.
Right.
Didn't he jump out of a moving car, you said at one point?
He opened up the door somehow at 80 miles per hour on the highway. So that was one of the many fun things that happened during that couple of days. And, you know, just it was such a whirlwind time with being there, driving around, trying to figure things out, trying to figure things out, helping us out a lot as well. But just the planes, my God, my body just can't hold up in planes like that.
Well, how'd your flight go? You went from Albuquerque to San Francisco to Vegas to Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, flying there, we stopped at Houston, then to El Paso, then drove an hour to New Mexico to this place where he was supposed to go, but he had a huge behavior there and they rejected him. So then at that point, he was technically homeless and he couldn't go anywhere. And he's very low, and he has a lot of medications, and needs 24/7 care. And the only way he can get into a place if he voluntarily signed himself in, and he did not want to. He wanted to go home.
So essentially, two options: leave this individual who has intellectual disability alone and homeless on the street, and just be like, bye.
Yeah.
And then check the papers for days in New Mexico, hoping that you don't find out that his body was found somewhere and that you're partly responsible for that.
Exactly.
Or stick around, hope that they're going to pay you to stay there.
I haven't figured that one out yet. I'll go back to work on Monday, so we'll see.
Dude, what if you just no one would know. You could have knocked him out and then just took him to an emergency room and be like, he just passed out. Gotta go. Bye.
I mean,
and as you're signing them in, and they're like, "Well, what happened?" It's like, "I don't know. He just passed out. It's your problem now. Got to go."
So many options were getting thrown out, and we were seriously considering them. I mean, there were some times where we
was bludgeoning
were thinking about
bludgeoning.
Was that one of the options?
The night before, he actually did get bludgeoned in the head. So he had an open wound in the airport on the plane, and I'm sitting next to him and just see the blood still. It's not even healed up. It was terrible, and I don't even know this kid that well. Like it was more or less the caseworker.
So you're walking around New Mexico with this bloody mess.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fantastic time. I hope you got paid well.
I hope so too.
And you're home now, but you missed your screening.
It all worked out, everybody. So he actually did end up
I wanted
getting
to
a
keep him
big
hanging.
restraint later on the next day, and it sort of knocked him out of his little temper tantrum that he was going through. So he voluntarily signed in.
He needed a hug.
Facility. Well, police were there, an ambulance was there. I mean, there's so many people there at the time.
Sorry, was he restrained or tased?
Restrained. But it was at the facility that we wanted him to go to.
Just picturing a cop show up and Jay reaches and grabs the zapper.
And it was behind. It was behind the Mexican restaurant, like right next to the facility. It was so fucking bizarre.
That sounds like quite
and then it was
the
such
adventure.
an awkward like goodbye. Like Chris was like, "This is it, man. We're out. We're out. This is New Mexico's problem now." So I'm like,
he's in
and
custody.
I'm like, all right,
He's in
buddy.
He's in someone's custody. It's the Department of Corrections. But let's bounce.
And then we had like an hour and a half to catch the plane to get to Phoenix to Las Vegas, and then a red eye into Philly.
I just love it that
and I did not sleep
when we
at
recorded
all.
Movie Cocktail. You were talking about we're gonna drop him off at this placement, and we got like a day to go around and get some drinks before our flight goes.
Seriously,
back.
we were planning.
None of that happened,
And he was a saint the whole way until we got to that facility that he was supposed to go to originally, and he completely flipped
Go out to New
'cause
Mexico.
He thought he was going home.
Get myself some Mormon strange.
Look, I was all about it. Whatever's going to happen, I was like, all right, I got my cowboy boots on. Well, the ones that look like cowboy boots.
While you were out in New Mexico,
Yes.
me and Lauren, the big thing we did, obviously, was see Avengers Endgame. You did too, after missing a showing.
Yeah.
But we did go out and see Avengers Endgame, and today we just did some gardening. We did some straight up adult shit.
Yep.
Yeah, we
went to a wedding in between there.
We
too.
did. And,
cool.
And you know what really bothers me? When someone keeps telling me how funny I am. I wanted to
Oh my god! So
and I just wanted to be like, first off, you never told me your husband's so funny.
Oh
And I
my
was like,
God, yeah.
Did she tell you that I don't take compliments well either?
Yeah.
yeah,
felt
so
like I
the wedding
offended
we
her with
went
that.
to was my friend / coworker Rosanna, and there was our other coworkers. It's our little lunch table. We were at her wedding, and he was just. Dave was being Dave. He was just shooting his mouth off, talking shit, and he was cracking my friend Lisa up. She was dying. She's like, "Oh my god, he is so funny."
To be fair, I was not talking shit on anybody there.
No. You were. I was just saying you were just talking shit.
Yeah.
Not about anyone.
But her date did look exactly
Like
Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained. So at one point I asked him,
Oh, wow.
if he could just hold his drink up and tell me that I had his curiosity, but now I have his interest. I just needed to say he wouldn't do it, but he got it. So
Right.
He took that with a grain of salt, but it was it was a lot of fun. But yeah, weddings, just, I don't know. I'm awkward at weddings. Lauren really likes to dance. I don't like to dance, but I will dance because I don't want to be the asshole who's like, no, I'm not going to dance. I'm going to sit at the table and do nothing. Like, I'll still go dance, even though I don't like it. She knows I don't like it,
Right.
but I still do it. I still boogie down. And,
Well,
Yeah.
you go all out. Yeah, it's
And-
you don't half-ass it.
and I was outside hitting the vape, and the DJ asked me if I had any weed, and I was like, "No, this is just non-nicotine tobacco
Right.
flavored." He was like, "Look at me." He's like, "What's the point?" I wanted to get rid of nicotine. I got rid of nicotine, but I still have the habit. What
This
do you want?
from the DJ who at one point played Honky Tonky Man. It was-
Oh, jeez.
So terrible DJ. However, the bride and groom, the music that they selected, their
Right.
mixtape that was playing,
Right.
that was fantastic. That was
Yeah.
great. It was all violins, but they played like pop music from the 70s and stuff. So there was like Queen thrown in there. There was the Beatles. It was
Right.
That was pretty cool.
Good.
But other than that, the adult shit we did was we went to fucking Home fucking Depot today,
yeah,
man.
we did.
Big day. Doing what?
Well, actually, pretty nice little Saturday. We're gonna go to Home Depot. Yeah, buy some wallpaper, maybe get some flooring, stuff like that. Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time.
We got some plants. Start
Nice
putting some
Saturday
plants.
afternoon at Home Depot.
Well, I mean, our front yard, like, it's got grass, and then it's got, like, we look like we live in fucking New Mexico, because, like, it just looks like our yard's like this wasteland. And, like, when I'm mowing the lawn, like, after I'm done mowing the lawn, like, you know, there's like this moment that you kind of suck in your gut a little bit, stick out your chest, and you feel like your dick grows about an inch, and you're like, I'm a man. Like, look at this yard. It looks so good. But then, like, when I look against the house, and I was like, oh yeah, look at that lifeless wasteland.
Our rocks.
Our rock garden. We can grow rocks super well. So we've got 2 rose bushes, we got 2 evergreen trees to put in, and some fake flowers, because we
fake potted plants.
we can't keep potted plants. Like we the first year we were here, we went all out. Like we put the rock garden out there, then we put like potted plants around with all these I believe they're called perennials, annuals. Then we put annuals around, ones that will never come back. They just die. Who cares what they are? I'm not a gardener. I don't care. So anyway, they died immediately. And even the permanent ones that we put in there, one of them lasted like one winter,
right,
and then came back like halfway. Like it looked like it was rough. Like it looked like Two-Face. Half of the thing was dead and the other half was like,
and to be
your
fair,
front of the house gets nonstop sunlight.
yeah, it does.
Right. And to be fair, I don't water plants.
No.
I don't fertilize like I'm supposed to do. So we had to find plants that were very low maintenance.
I bought you an orchid once that lasted for like almost like 2 weeks. Like that made it, and that was a potted plant too. Like that's supposed to last.
I
They're
managed
low maintenance too.
I managed to kill a succulent. Like that's how bad.
Which is pretty much a cactus.
Right. All you have to do is fucking put water in it. It doesn't
Once
even
a
need,
month.
Once a month,
Yeah. You don't even need a lot of sunlight on it.
Straight
And I
murdering
still
plants here.
killed it.
Yeah, and now like all of our bushes that are on the side of our house, for some reason this year, dead, not coming back.
Right.
So I have to go cut all those down. So getting into some adult shit around here is what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's really what we've been up to this week. Jay, let's get into what are you watching?
What are you watching?
What are we watching?
I think he's trying to watch some illegal channel.
Always watching.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
So I got around to finally catching John Hillcoat's The Proposition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Australian
yes.
The Australian Western.
Western, yeah.
With Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic, is it not?
It is. It is. It's solid. It's a very solid, very slow, very old school.
It's very stark. Like that's the way I put it. Like it's very stark. Like it's just like,
yeah, there's no, redeeming qualities of any too many characters, I guess you can say. They're all pretty much bad guys.
yeah, everyone is.
100%. And there's not really that many redeeming people. And it's a small story. It's very moody. It's very beautiful.
It's about revenge,
lovely
right?
shots. Yeah.
Yeah. Like all good cowboy
different
movies.
kind of variations of revenge from different kind of people and brotherhood and pride. And I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it.
See,
It was
I think
good.
I liked it more than you did.
I think you did.
I certainly think
so. You
people-
talked about it for years now. I just never
certainly
got around
think
to seeing it.
Everyone should give it a chance. I think it's on Amazon Prime now, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, never heard of it.
You wouldn't like it.
Probably not.
For sure. You wouldn't like Cowboys.
You
and-
lost me at Western.
At Western,
Yeah.
Australian Western.
Yeah.
So other than that, I finally, don't kill me, got around to seeing the classic Chinatown.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I never saw Chinatown.
Forget it, Jack.
Always meant to. It's just one of those,
Chinatown.
one of those kind of things. Yeah, Roman Polanski's. I think it's his first classic. Won a ton of Oscars. It's a great mystery noir.
One of Jack Nicholson's best acting performances.
True. And Faye Dunaway, not so much, but no, she was okay. But it was a really cool movie.
Yeah.
I had so much fun watching it. Really fun. It's really timely, I think, and especially when I was in New Mexico. I thought about these little pockets of little towns and how like L.A. like set in this movie in Chinatown, that was like the conspiracy thing where like they were funneling the water in LA out into these little areas in town that they wanted to expand one day. So all these big industrial billionaires were trying to buy property and develop one day. But
all right, what else did you watch?
It was
Stop
a lot of fun. And other than that, obviously Endgame I saw twice.
I just love how you're lavishing praise on a film that won like multiple
I know.
Oscars and everyone knows is
Like
amazing.
30 years ago.
Everyone else has seen it. You're like, it's just so good. It's just so fucking good. But yeah, Endgame
ending.
twice.
Oh my God, the ending.
We've seen Endgame twice now too. So it's As far as what me and Lauren watched, since she's here, she can talk about it with me. We finished Santa Clarita Diet.
We did.
And Lauren just shared with us the news that it's official. It's not
going to be canceled.
It's canceled. Yeah. Which
sucks.
Happens to everything we wind up liking on Netflix,
Very
with the
sad.
exception of Stranger Things. But, we like that Friends from College show with Fred Savage
right.
and Keegan-Michael Key, but that ended up getting canceled as well. But other than finishing Santa Clarita Diet, which I did think it was the weakest season, but I still had a ton of fun with it. We watched on Netflix, it's a film that's called Someone Great.
Yes.
And this is about 3 early 30-something girls whose careers are getting together and the relationships that they have. And you were the one that really put this on. I just happened to be around
you
for
were
it.
happening.
But I did find myself enjoying parts of it, especially anything with Lakeith Stanfield, because I love him as an actor. I think he's fantastic.
No, I really liked the movie, and it was great because it had a bunch of songs from the I guess late 90s, early 2000s. So that was a lot of fun. And I mean, the girls in it were hilarious. They were all amazing. The girls.
Brittany Snow, I know her.
Brittany Snow,
She's from that movie where all the girls sing without any type of music. It's all a cappella.
Oh, yeah,
Pitch
that's
Perfect.
right. Pitch Perfect. Yeah.
Bingo, there it is.
She was also in John Tucker Must Die.
Sure. Never saw that.
I'm pretty sure that was Brittany Snow in it.
Never saw that.
I think she was one of the girls in that.
I think she was the main girl in it. Yeah.
But I do think that this is one of those Netflix original movies. It's worth giving a shot. It
was fun. And anytime the girl said anything vulgar and gross, you're like, oh my God, women speak like that?
No, it wasn't like I thought like that.
That's how I took it when you said it.
It's because the women that are in it, it's the girl from Jane the Virgin.
Right.
So it's I've never heard her talk like that. I've never heard Brittany Snow fuck a guy in the office and then walk out with a wad of tissues as she wipes her vagina from she wipes the cum off her vagina and stuff. So it's we didn't see these girls doing this stuff before. So it's a little shocking when they're blowing bleezies and doing shots of tequila and then trying to score coke and trolling for dick and just
So what movie is this called? This is piquing my interest now.
Someone Great.
No. It's really good. It's really, really funny. And I know at one point when they were in the convenience store and Selena's song came on and you're like, what the fuck? What is this?
I've never
and I'm
Selena.
Dying. I'm just belting it out.
Yeah, it's a perfect Netflix date night movie. That's if you're at home with your SO, with your significant other, then I would say, put this on, watch it with your significant other. And for you, Jay, I would say that this is basically Netflix female version of That Awkward Moment. You remember that movie?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like that. Yeah. So I did wind up enjoying it. So the other movies that we got around to watching was I showed my daughter Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for the first time. I cried because I love that movie, but Logan couldn't give 2 fucks about it.
You said she only cared about
Just call me when Spider-Gwen's on. Yeah. That's what she said. She goes running into the bedroom and she kept saying, call me when the Spider-Girl's on. Spider-Girl's here. It's where? I'm oh, you just missed her. But so now she's all about Spider-Gwen. So I think I'm going to try to slip that in to get her dressed up like that for Halloween. Me and Lauren didn't watch this, but I did. I watched Hellboy, Jay. I had to know. Everyone saw. Geez. I knew it was going to be bad. Everyone's talking about how bad it is. So as soon as everyone's like, it's super bad, I went and saw it. It is super bad. But everyone telling me how bad it was prepared me for how bad it was. And I wound up only finding the good in it. Now, it's still a terrible movie. I would probably give it a D+. But it's still a pretty bad movie.
I think I gave it an F+.
Yeah,
it's it's so bad.
I would give it a D+. It's just its pacing was super rushed for a film that's almost 2.5 hours, right? It's a 2-hour long movie, but they just crammed so much into it, and it almost felt like the dialogue was sped up. When they're talking, when Hellboy's quipping, it seems like he has a quip, and then they just someone responds really quick, and he responds back, and then cutscene onto another
horrible editing, horrible
different
script writing. It's just it just didn't flow right.
And the thing that bothered me the most about it was the music. I love the heavy metal music. There's no problem with that at all. The problem is when they would play it, they would have characters talking, but you couldn't hear what the characters were saying because the sound mixing was so terrible that all you heard was the rock music. And it's like, so dialogue means nothing, right? Then why have him talk at all? Like, why have him say anything? But me and Lauren did watch a movie worse than Hellboy together. We watched The Nun, which is part of the Conjuring series. And man, that was just truly...
It was so bad.
Awful.
But it was... I think it was our Saturday night movie because we just needed something.
Yeah. We didn't want to put mid-90s on yet, which is now streaming on Amazon Prime. We saved that for the next day. So we watched The Nun. And it was just, I don't even know how to put dialogue. Terrible. Like the entire plot, terrible. Like you have no clue why anybody is doing anything that they're doing or what the rules of this ghost is. Like it seems like it could do anything that the script needs it to do when the script needs it to do it.
The only part that was halfway decent of the movie was the very end, how it connected itself into the other movies. Like that was it.
Because it's the only thing I didn't see coming. When I was like, that's where the nun came from. Oh, that's how she got in touch with the nun. That makes sense, I guess. Everything else I could care less about.
It was terrible.
They should have made it like a 5-10 minute short film in the Conjuring series or something. Add it on the back of one of the DVDs and just forget about it. Yeah. Because this movie is even like
terrible. The scare jumps, it didn't work for it at all. Maybe we're just I don't know. Maybe we're just so used to it by now.
We're big horror fans, so
right. So it doesn't work for us as well.
I don't think this worked for anybody. It got like
I don't know.
It gets like a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. So no one's certifying this shit fresh. And then finally, me and Lauren did watch together. We watched mid-90s, and
I didn't finish it. Though.
Yeah. So it's very, and me and Jay were talking about. It's a very Linklater type film. It's a very Harmony Korine type film, and I feel like it's very inspired.
And I do
Jonah
think
Hill was inspired.
It's more geared towards for guys.
You know what? I didn't see. I thought it was going to be something different, and then I started watching it. I'm
a little funnier. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't like this at all.
Super creepy scene though when the girl is like putting her hands down his pants and stuff like that. I'm like, this kid is like 10, 11.
He's like 9 or 10 or something. Yeah.
I think he's 12, but she's like 16, 17.
Right.
Like grabbing on this kid's junk. And I'm like, dude, this makes me feel uncomfortable.
She's a future teacher.
Stranger danger.
I gave up when he was in the car and he was like flipping out on his mom, like in her face, yelling at her. I'm like, fuck that shit. If that was my kid yelling at me like that, I would totally punch a kid in the face.
Yeah. Oh, you could punch a kid for that, 100%, or at least open palm slap right across his face. Like no one would fault you for that. You were 20 minutes from the end. Like the end comes like right after that, pretty much. And but yeah, I gotta say, like I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it for what it was. I would probably give it like just a solid B, I think. But it mostly the things I found myself enjoying were like the nostalgia of it, just like that mid-90s era.
I think I gave it a B as well, and mostly because of the nostalgia and me having similar kind of playful interactions with friends back in the day, and escape parks and stuff like that. You just bullshit around, and it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, I mean, not me with the skate parks, but like the bullshitting around, like just going to places and hanging out, and like that was your fun, and stuff like that. I wasn't, I wasn't drinking 40s when I was 12 years old like this kid. So I wasn't getting my dick grabbed on by a fucking 16-year-old girl, but I mean, good for him, I guess. Like early bloomer, he's probably gonna
right.
He's going to be comparing every girl to her the entire rest of his life. But it was that very slow, very methodical, very slice of life type thing that you would see in a Linklater or a Harmony Korine movie. And that's, like I said, I think that's exactly what Jonah Hill was going for. And I think he succeeded in it.
Yeah.
It's nothing I ever need to go back to again.
The rewatchability is not there for this.
It reminded me a lot of, what was that movie that Linklater did where he age progressed everybody? He filmed it slowly over 12 years.
Boyhood. Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Boyhood. Like it reminded me like a lot of that, where it's that.
But I really liked Boyhood. Like it kept me hooked. I
can't really compare. I mean, there's other movies you can compare this with, I think, more than Boyhood so much. But
Kids is the one like I compare it to.
Kids, I think, is probably closer than Boyhood for sure, in that vein, because it is very vulgar and it is very, very verbally abusive in many different kind of ways.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, but it is available on Amazon Prime. If that's one of those movies that came out around the Oscar time that was getting buzz that you never got around to check out, it's there. All right, so one other thing that me and Jay got around to watching was Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3. Obviously, we missed talking about Season 8, Episode 2 in Winterfell, where everybody kind of gets like a little meeting moment. Like everyone, it's all the characters, like all the connections that we wanted to see happen in the first episode now happen here. And there's a few moments where like I got choked up a few times in that episode. I absolutely loved seeing all the characters interact in Episode 2.
Oh, absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Just some playful stillness. You know, the knighting was fantastic and emotional. The drinking was fun and just, you know.
Yeah,
you felt like one of those rare little moments at a house party late at night,
right,
and everybody's just kind of the last one standing, and everyone's just kind of shooting the shit.
It's like the end
being
of,
really honest with each other.
It's like the end of Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff like that, but there was a lot of good character choices. I think that they would want to do before a big fight like this.
Yeah, it's a calm before the storm.
Yes, yes.
Some people were being given gifts by other people. I won't say like who's given what or anything like that. We don't want to spoil anything. And like part of what I was thinking was like, okay, everyone who's getting or giving a gift is dying. Like all these people who like, there's gotta be some symbolism in this. But I think in the end, I got to stop watching this show with that in mind, where it's like, okay, this means that it's not that show anymore. Like it used to be that show that was the game of theories. Like it always, like that's what it seemed like. Now that all these theories are getting put to rest and either coming true or not, it's impossible to kind of really figure out.
All you have to do is shut your brain off and enjoy it.
Where they're going from here, I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously we now know how episode 3 for season 8 ends, and I mean, I won't spoil it here, but anyone who goes on Facebook, it's already been spoiled for you, I'm sure. I've seen tons of GIFs of that final scene already out there, and people are just putting it up anywhere because they just assumed that everybody watching. A lot of people didn't, but I did not like episode 3 much at all. Did it have a shocking moment? Did it make me jump up and have an emotion loudly? Yeah, like it did. But
there's a few.
Right. But for the most part, while I was watching it, it was just a moment here or there that I enjoyed, but as a whole, it was very calamitous. Like it was chaos. And I know that that's what they were going for, and kudos to them for doing it that way.
They did exactly what they wanted.
Oh, exactly. But there's just moments in it where I was just like, all right, can this not like take this long? I guess like I think I wanted more character moments like I was getting with episode 2 to happen here, and we do get a few. We get one with Tyrion and Sansa. I won't say like what's said or what they do, and we do get like a few others like here and there, but for the most part it was just chaos. Just
really, yeah. And underlit, darker kind of cinematography that a lot of people were complaining about, me included. I just feel like they portrayed exactly what the characters would be seeing at the moment. And as a viewer, especially with some people like me, like I don't have the highest tech TV. Like it's an older LCD TV. So the darks and the blacks don't really.
Does it have a tube on the back? Is it humming when it goes on? Or are you somewhat sterile just from sitting too close to it?
It's practically a tuber. Yeah, it's not. It's not the best with darker cinematography.
Right. I mean,
for me, it was hard for me to watch some things. I think after the second viewing, I was able to catch a lot more things as far as different characters fighting and different kind of kills and different kind of choices with some characters who were not helping other people fight, and choosing to go down another path to help out in some other area or direction.
Right.
So, I saw that more in the second viewing right afterwards than the initial. But overall, it was fine.
Yeah, me and Lauren watched
better.
it twice as well. The second time we watched it, I actually increased the brightness on the TV, and I changed it. Like we usually have ours set to like warm or something like that, because I don't like the colors like busting out into my face.
Right.
But for this episode, I went and I cranked it up and I changed it to vivid, and I increased the brightness a little bit. That did help when watching it, but it wasn't the visuals that bothered me to begin with. It was really that I just felt like it was gratuitous for the sake of being gratuitous because they knew they needed to be gratuitous here. Like they felt like they owed it to us to be that way. But I think I much would have rathered a battle that was very much like Battle of the Bastards, where we get some lead into it, we get some build up to it. They left episode 2 as that. Now, when I go to rewatch this season as a whole, right in a row, it might change because there's some episodes from past seasons that I didn't like so much, but when I watched them in a row, it feels right and it feels better. So watching that calm before the storm in episode 2 and then immediately starting episode 3,
that's true. It might help.
It might feel differently, but just going into episode 3, and I mean, it just starts off with boom.
They're in it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You're just in the shit. So that's it's a little bit of a gripe. But don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I'm not like, oh man, Game of Thrones jumped the shark, man. I'm not down with it, man. There's also a few things like the very end scene where I was just like, oh, that's how that works? I guess. Whatever. Sure, why not? We got to get this story moving along because we still got to march to another battle next.
Yeah, with a broken army.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, that's going to do it for What Are We Watching? Jay, let's head over and let's get into our news for this week. All right, Jay, you had a little bit of news that some people may already know if they're avid Netflix users. That Quentin Tarantino did something to The Hateful Eight?
He did. Apparently, he recut The Hateful Eight as a Netflix miniseries with essentially just 20 minutes of boring footage. Right?
It's
landscape shots of Montana.
Yeah, I actually I knew about this because I actually happened to be flipping through Netflix with nothing else to do on Saturday night, and I was like, "Oh, Hateful Eight, yeah, I mean, that's worth another watch." I think I've seen it like twice now, so I was like, "Oh, yeah. I'll give it another shot, watch it a third time." And I go to put it on, and I was like, "Oh, episode 1," and I started looking. I was like, "Episode 1, 50 minutes. Episode 2, like 52 minutes." I was like, so he took the movie, cut it into 50-minute portions, and basically what it amounts to, there's about a half hour to 40 minutes that are added to it. But the first episode was sprawling like...
Well, he obviously did this without marketing.
Right,
absolutely. I think he did that on purpose, just for fun.
Sprawling landscapes, and then they held on to that statue that you see in the beginning, that wood carving of Jesus on the cross, for probably about 2 to 3 minutes longer than it was in the original cut, and then the credits start. So it's actually like 20 minutes into the movie before you really get your first lines. They show the horses trudging through the snow, before Samuel L. Jackson's character shows up. So it's like, okay. I only got about midway through the second episode, and I was just like, all right, so it literally is the exact same thing, just longer. I'm sure there's some added dialogue and stuff, but I'm not.
Do we really need it?
It's not needed, especially for like what amounts to as it's still a really good film, but still for Tarantino, it's good. It's a mediocre Tarantino joint.
It's a very, when all is said and done, it's just an average movie, I guess, for his quality.
Yeah,
it's still good. It was still enjoyable, but the rewatchability is not on par with other films of his.
40 minutes added to it, like,
is it that
good? Just give me 40 minutes.
It's probably just a paycheck for him. It's gonna like a fun thing for him to do. Release it silently. Netflix gives him maybe like $1 million for something like that. Just to
now, people would probably lose their mind if he was like, "Oh, there's 40 minutes more to Reservoir Dogs, or we have 40 minutes more for Pulp Fiction." Like,
that's like
these are deleted
movie
scenes.
theater worthy, probably.
Yeah, people would lose their minds. over that.
Sure, they're classics,
right? But
this is not a classic at all.
I just want to know: did Quentin Tarantino just do a George Lucas special edition? No, because he only added in scenes. He didn't go adding in like anything like CGI, right? Like there's not a little R2-D2 popping out of rocks like anywhere where he wasn't supposed to be before.
No,
But
the director later on does say that he is still strongly considering a Star Trek movie from him. So it's been talked about, it's been rumored about. But as far as the rumors go, he has one more film in his career. And I don't think he's going to go out with Star Trek.
Right. But what I find funny is there was news about 2 to 3 weeks ago where Paramount was just like, no, this is never happening. We're not doing another Star Trek movie. And Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek movie's not happening either. And it's like, okay. I mean, whatever. We'll just have to see.
We'll see.
I think it's one of those things that he's interested in, but that doesn't mean that it gets done, right? It doesn't mean that they want to.
There's so many variables that have to go in par.
Exactly.
And plus, I mean, who knows? It's still so early, and honestly, I think with just the upcoming Once Upon a Time in Hollywood coming up, I mean, he's just going to be talking about a whole bunch of shit, and he can't stop talking. So he's just going to be rambling about a whole bunch of shit.
Supposedly, there is at least a script for his Star Trek movie. Next news story. All right, Jay, I love this news story. There was a woman in China who was hospitalized during Avengers Endgame because she was crying too much. I wasn't even able to cry. I mean, I was crying, but it was because my bladder was literally so full that I was like pinching my dick. Like
I'm being serious. I thought Star is Born, I cried a lot. This movie, I don't know what it is with me lately, but tears. All those 5 times I mentioned before in the show, in the recording, that I cried, literal tears came down my face.
Just 2 moments for me.
I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. But I guess it goes to show because it's been, so long, so many movies.
But what I'm saying, like,
this is the final one.
This is like those women that or those, not even just women, like those people who used to see Elvis and faint. Those people who used to see like the Beatles and faint and stuff like that. It's kind of like that. Like this woman saw Avengers and was just so jazzed, and she just wound up crying so much that they're like, "You got to go. You're dying."
Well, I mean, and extending off of that, there was many people actually being assholes and spoiling the movie for a lot of people coming, waiting in line for the showing, coming out of the movie theater and just, spoiling it.
Yeah, I was
next day in classrooms and schools, people were getting punched and stuff.
I was in Wawa, and Wawa is a local convenience store around here. Right. I was in Wawa, and in line, the guy in front of me was talking to the kid who was ringing him up about Avengers Endgame. And he asked him if he saw it, and the kid who was ringing him up, the Wawa employee ringing him up, he was like, yeah, I saw it. So the guy starts talking his ear off about it in line, and I'm right behind him. And behind me is a woman who's standing there who I guess hadn't seen it, because she just literally goes, "Oh, what the fuck," and slams her shit down on the floor and walks out of Wawa.
Get out.
Yeah. And I was just like, dude,
people take it serious.
You have to be careful. Like me and Lauren came out of the movie theater and we were talking about it like out loud. And then like there was a guy walking up and we both just went like, and we let him pass, and he's just like, "Was it good?" And we were like, and we got in the car. Like for something that's this big,
it's hard. You have to go out as soon as possible.
I know you do
for your own benefit,
but at the same time, like, show a little restraint. You don't need to talk to everybody about it, like when you're out in public and stuff like that. Like I've heard stories of people in the bar, and people are talking about it at the bar, and they're just happen to be at the table next to them when they're just getting spoiled for them. It's just like
I know
if it's that big, it's that important to you. Understand that life and time aren't always on your side. You just got to stay out of public. You just got to stay away
and away from social media.
Absolutely. For
like
all those,
our friends just saw it last night. Rachel, Tara, and Ryan Dugan.
Yeah.
So,
and they managed to avoid spoilers, so by just not going on the internet at all or going out in public. But yeah, it's also like the same thing for like Game of Thrones. There's a lot of people who are waiting for this season to end, and then they're going to binge watch like the entire thing. So, or there's other people like Duty from Shaken Not Nerd. He only buys the Blu-ray copies of it because there's not a lot of HD streaming options in Australia for Game of Thrones. So they buy the Blu-ray copy, and then they binge watch the entire season. So he has to stay like in the dark on anything Game of Thrones for the foreseeable future until it gets a Blu-ray release.
That's easier to do.
It's a little bit easier. Yeah. You can just, but it's weird. Like for years, like people were like, "Oh, do you watch Game of Thrones?" Yep.
Well, so okay, for him, the only difficult part is going to be after the series finale, right? Because everybody in the world is going to be talking about it. It's going to be plastered all over the place.
Season 8, episode 3. That's kind of hard to avoid.
Well,
That's
I know.
So, next news story. All right, Jay. Suicide Squad 2 has cast another person. This is David Masnalchian. He is going to play Polka-Dot Man. And if you don't know who he is, he actually was in Ant-Man, and he was also in The Dark Knight. He is a character actor who, like, once you look at him, he's just in a lot of stuff. And recently, a lot of that is superhero stuff. But yeah, he plays like back characters, but he's gonna be playing Polka-Dot Man. This is like one of DC's like ultimate like F-list villains. Like he's right up there with
he has a very
Condiment
distinct look.
He does.
So it works on those kind of ways. I mean, he's going to be memorable. He's obviously looking like a bad guy just because he has an odd look. And he could play Swarmy. I mean, like, I'm down with it. Whatever. I'm sure he's a side piece. I mean, he's not going to be like the main villain.
No, I was actually thinking about this, and I was like, he is definitely the guy who dies right away, like Slipknot was in the original one. He's the guy that dies like almost immediately.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has quite a long career with DC here. In the Flash TV series, he played Abracadabra, and then he was also in, as we mentioned before, The Dark Knight. So he's on Warner Brothers' list, I guess, of people that's like, hey, we need someone to die very quickly. It's like, we'll just get that guy. But one of the interesting thing is The Dark Knight was actually only his second credited role.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's come a long way in 11 years. Next news story. All right, Jay. Warner Brothers has announced that Fantastic Beasts 3 has a release date. Fantastic Beasts 3 will be released on November 12th, 2021, 3 years after the original. And I believe it was only a 2-year break between Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and Crimes of Grindelwald.
And this kind of makes sense because they want to write the course. I mean, the second one was not overly well regarded. Neither was the first one so much for some people. I mean, but, you know, they need to get back into a better form with these properties because they're planning on doing 8 movies. And the second movie made pretty much $100 million less than the first one. So that's a big shaky thing for Warner Brothers. They're a little nervous about it. So I think if they want to space it out a little longer and let the fanboys get all hyped up and wanting more Harry Potter type of stuff, then more people will go out.
All these guys getting all hyped up, polishing their wands, just waiting for the next Harry Potter installment to drop. No, I mean I do really enjoy Harry Potter, but I
want to see more of Dumbledore.
After they like dropped, and I won't say what it is because I know how sensitive we all are about spoilers these days.
Yeah.
You know, with kind of like the story bomb that they dropped at the end of the other one, they're also going to take some time because they angered a lot of Harry Potter fans with that, where people were like, this doesn't make sense at all. Like, not in the Harry Potter timeline that we know. So they have to take time to kind of massage those fans a little bit too.
Well said.
And it's kind of like the same thing like Star Wars is doing right now. The Last Jedi made tons of money, boo-goo bucks, baby. But also, it disappointed a lot of fans and turned a lot of fans against the franchise. At least when I say a lot, I don't mean like the majority, but I mean a select few who are very vocal, who didn't like it. And now Disney and J.J. Abrams, I believe in this next movie, it really seems like they're going to be massaging those fans while trying to please everybody. And Fantastic Beasts is almost in the same type of position where they're like, we have to continue this Harry Potter torch on because we still got rides at Universal. We got to get people to go ride. We got toys and merchandise to sell.
It should be a big moneymaker for them. And it's just not happening quite yet.
It's just not getting it done. Next news story. All right, Jay, I am actually really, really excited about this news. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are now going to be in charge of Sony's Marvel TV universe, which means pretty much they're going to be in charge of a bunch of Spider-Man cartoons. But that really excites me. And we talked about this before, where we knew that they had a all Spider Girls, like all women in the Spider-Man universe movie in the works, and they were talking about maybe turning Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse into like its own TV show and stuff like that. And who better to do that than the guys who kind of lit that world on fire late last year with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's kind of like a perfect marriage. Plus, I'm sure, Phil Lord and Chris Miller are going to be super happy to cash those regular paychecks as showrunners.
Oh yeah. And also, I think more than anything, they have a strong vision. And I think they'll be able to portray their viewpoints with the artists that are going to be doing these daily shows.
I think what I like about it is that as producers, they have a unique voice, right? Like it's been very few things that they've done that I haven't enjoyed. I mean, with the exception of Solo, but they only had 1/3 of a part of that. So I think that this is in the right hands, and it actually makes me excited for what they got to come, because the things Into the Spider-Verse did so well, and what a lot of properties really have a trouble with when transitioning from movies to cartoons and TV shows is Into the Spider-Verse hit so many notes, and it was appropriate and really good for all ages. Like, not even in like that Disney way where it's just like feel good. Like it's the type of movie where there's something for everybody in there. And I'm hoping that they plan on producing TV shows that are geared towards everyone as well. Kids can watch it, their parents can watch it, teenagers can watch it, and it hits all those demographics. Next news story.
The most unsurprising news, John Cena is joining the Fast and the Furious 9 movie.
Yes. So
who else is going to replace The Rock? I mean, come on.
Oh, no one said The Rock's being replaced. He's just getting his own spinoff. That doesn't mean he's not in Fast 9.
Okay.
But
this is becoming like the Expendables.
It really, really is. And, I'm okay with it. Like, I really, like, you could tell me that Fast and Furious 9 is going to take place and it's a race around the moon. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I could be like, race to Mars. We got to get to Mars first. Why is that, Dom? Because family. Fair enough. Hop in our space cars. Let's go.
I feel like they need to get into the Asian areas more, to be honest, because you never see it. I'm surprised they're not out there more often.
The Asian areas?
Well, I mean, like China and North Korea.
The Asian areas. I'm just loving this. Like, you sound like an old
continent
man.
Of Asia.
Why don't you just go a step further and just be like, they really got to start selling to the Orientals. It's just the way you said it. It's like you paused because you're like, nope, this doesn't sound right, but I'm just going to keep going.
It's just my cold.
No, it's not.
I'm just delaying.
You are getting older. I want to put we just redid the front lawn. I want to put a chair out there and have you sit out there just like you are now with like a button-up shirt open and just a beater on. And that way, when anytime someone steps on my lawn, you can go, hey, get off my lawn.
I should have been in the 50s at this point.
You
or
absolutely
60s.
should. But yeah, John Cena, no surprise there.
No. And to be honest, I quite enjoy John Cena. I think he's really coming into his own as far as an actor. And God, after seeing that last movie, that silly parent ensemble rom-com Blockers,
it was good.
He's willing to do anything, like chug a fucking beer can in his asshole.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Vividly on screen. Yeah.
Next news story. All right, little bit of a sadder note here, Jay. Unfortunately, John Singleton, legendary director of Boys in the Hood, and one of my favorite Mark Wahlberg movies, Four Brothers, and of course, one of the Fast and Furious movies, Too Fast, Too Furious, has passed away. He was actually hospitalized about a week and a half ago after having a massive stroke. It did not look like his brain function was going to be returning to normal, and he never really came out of a coma. So his family decided to pull the plug, which is, it's unfortunate because, you kind of lose his voice now in Hollywood. But of course, we still have his films and the testament that they are. So you can always just this week.
Yeah, it's sad.
Go check out Boys in the Hood if you haven't before.
You really should.
You really got to see it. And then right after that, watch Straight Outta Compton. I mean, because they're both fantastic movies. I
love that movie.
Straight Outta Compton is not directed by John Singleton, but it has that feel, and it's definitely,
it does, and it's inspired by I think his movies.
Definitely inspired by it.
It is a great movie, and it's emotional, and it is well acted and done. So it's an underrated film, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Jay, we got one final news story, but this news story comes in the form of a trailer, a much maligned trailer, if I do say so myself.
The Poetics is playing.
Poetics, bring the drums in.
Cut the beat and let the music play. No trailer park, shout out to Dave and Jay.
I don't serve, but there's a newer wave. We've been on since towards God save the right stop. I don't wanna flow until I know that the bass drop.
Gotta go fast.
20 minutes ago, an energy surge knocked out power across the entire Pacific Northwest. This needs someone who can figure out exactly what we're dealing with.
You're not suggesting who I think you're suggesting.
We have no choice.
Nobody cares.
Oh, come on.
Okay, pal, I want answers.
Basically, it looks like I'm gonna have to save your planet.
Oh, is that all you got?
No, but thank you for asking.
Look at this! I took 9 million steps today.
Just look at this trailer and tell me it does not reek of Michael Bay produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that remake from like 2013.
Yeah, pretty much.
It looks
maybe
like,
worse.
Looks,
I don't know.
I think
dare I say?
I mean, obviously here at Super Movie Brothers, we're not excited for this movie, but I think Jim Carrey says it best in this. He goes, "No one cares. No one cares."
I mean, we like the background music, but that's about it.
Well, I would have preferred it if it was Amish Paradise. Been spending most our lives living in an Amish paradise. I churned butter once or twice. Weird Al's funnier than this movie.
Oh God, yeah.
That's how sad it is. What is James Marsden like? I mean, I know James Marsden has done
Obligation, Paycheck. Same thing with Jim Carrey. I have no idea. I just don't understand.
Like,
this.
didn't he do that? Didn't he do that like Easter movie where like he found the Easter bunny? It was called Hop, right? Yeah, he did that. Yeah. Right. This is like Hop 2, except instead of a rabbit, it is a super weird looking realistic version of in huge quotation marks, realistic version of Sonic the Hedgehog, except instead of looking like the video game Sonic that I grew up with, it looks like the stuffed animal that every teenage boy has that he wipes cum on, and then it gets all dried and gross, and then they eventually have to part with their whoopee because they jizzed on it too much. That's what Sonic looks like.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how to explain. I mean, obviously
the jokes are just very current and very stupid and very old and recycled sometimes too.
Yeah.
And it's Jim Carrey trying to do his 90s shtick again, and I don't think it's quite working.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan from the 90s.
To me, watching it, I was just like, this kind of feels a little disingenuous, doesn't it?
Oh, it's just not working, man.
No. I don't understand. First, I don't know why this movie needed to be made.
Right. I mean, what fans want this movie?
Right. First off, like a couple months ago,
we grew up with it. I don't want this.
A couple months ago, there was the set not the set photos, but like there was the leaked image of what Sonic was going to look like in this movie, and it was correct. It looks like what Sonic does look like in this movie, and I went to go look it up because someone had mentioned it to me. So I typed in realistic Sonic. Don't ever do that unless you're going to change your search filter to moderate and not to allow adult content, because I saw more like pictures of Sonic with a massive dong, just like putting it into all different types of things. I was not prepared for that. And then I saw this trailer and I wasn't prepared for this either. It's just, it's whatever. I know it's going to come out and I know it will have its fans. I've already seen some people being like, I'm cool with this. And it's like, that's cool. I'm cool with everyone. Every film has its fan.
That's true. It's for some people, smaller margin of people, I would say. However, no judgment. Have your fun.
Have your fun. Yeah.
Have your fun.
We're definitely not going to be
I wish I could partake in this, but I can't.
We're definitely not going to be watching this movie in theaters. There's not going to be a review on Super Movie Brothers.
Very well might be the last time you hear about this movie from us. Yeah,
we just needed to do a trailer park,
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to generate content, That's what Sonic is to us, just generating content.
good old Jim Carrey just needed to buy some more art supplies or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But he's very clearly playing Dr. Robotnik, but we don't actually see him as Dr. Robotnik until you stay after the trailer's credits, I guess you would say. Then you get a picture of what Jim Carrey looks like as Dr. Robotnik. And I did notice that Sonic did mention that he's here to save your planet when he was talking to James Marsden, so he's from a different planet.
Right.
So he is an alien, which is why he doesn't look like our hedgehogs. So apparently he must really resonate with hedgehogs on Earth when he sees them. He goes, "Oh, well, that's what I am." Just like Rocket refuses to accept that he's a raccoon.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, man, let's get out of here and let's get into some beer reviews. Welcome back to the beer segment. Me, Jay, and Lauren have a couple beers that we're going to be reviewing for you. But before we do that, got to drop a line to our sponsor, Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. What it is, 2 tablets that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water. Let that dissolve. Then you drink it down, and your hangover starts to feel better immediately. So, if you went into a deep depression after Avengers Endgame because A, things happened. We can't get into them right now. And B, you realized there's no MCU movies in the foreseeable future except for Spider-Man. And then you went on a bender and drank your feelings away, then you're going to need some Blowfish in the morning. So head over to 4hangovers.com, use the promo code SMBFish, and you'll get your 15% off. Super Movie Brothers is also brought to you by the Podcoin app. You can check out the Podcoin app on iOS and Android. It's an app that allows you to listen to podcasts. I know, like a whole bunch of other of them, right? But what it does differently is it allows you to earn points, which you can redeem for gifts, and it also helps out charity by listening on there. So why don't you start earning a little bit for all your hard podcast listening? Head over to the Podcoin app and start listening to your podcast now. So, of course, what we've been doing Indie Pod Spotlights, but this week is going to be a little bit different for the Indie Pod Spotlight because I'm not going to play a promo. I'm just going to talk about it. So, on the weekend of May 17th, 18th, and 19th, the Epic Film Guys will be doing their live stream for The Cure. Over 40 hours of podcasting live streamed right there for all of you to check out and to donate money during the live stream. It's kind of like one of those old Jerry Lewis fundraisers. So it's a lot like that. What it is it's Nick and Justin, and they plan out 40 hours of content for people to check out. And people can go on and they can tune in at any time. And a whole bunch of other podcasters join in on the festivities, on the fun, all in hopes that people donate a little bit to the Cancer Research Fund. So that, again, is taking place on May 17th, 18th, and 19th. I will be on Friday the 17th around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to do a fantasy movie draft special edition with Justin and Chris Brayton and a couple other guests, I believe. And then I will also be on around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 18th, where I will be doing a very special charity movie cocktail for Batman 1989.
Oh, I bet Justin's going to be on that with you.
So I encourage all of you guys to go to livestreamforthecure.com and you can donate early and then join us on 17th, 18th, and 19th for this charity event. We can only do it with your support. All right, we got 3 beers that we're going to be reviewing here. So why don't we get started with Lauren? So these beers that we're drinking here, these are not our normal run-of-the-mill craft beer. These are not, how do we put it? Some people would say these are swill. But we're trying to drink stuff that everyone that we know can get their hands on. So we wanted to do it a little bit differently. So Lauren, what are you drinking for everybody?
I am drinking Lining Google's Summer Shandy.
Lining Google's?
Lining Google's.
Lining Kugels? Lining Kugels? Lining Kugels? I think if you put on like some sort of like German accent, Lining Kugels, like that might work.
I can't do that though.
Lining Kugels? It's like Kegels, right? Lining Kegels.
I don't know. I'm just not up to wherever you're at right now.
Lagunitas.
No, it's not Lagunitas. It's Leinenkugels. No. All right, so it's called the Summer Shandy.
Yes. 4.2% alcohol by volume and very lemon beer. That's basically what I mostly taste. I know it's brewed with honey, but yeah, it's a lemonade flavored type beer. It's very good. This is the type of beer I like to drink now because we're in the springtime going into summer. I just like light beer. I don't like anything dark or heavy at this point. So I enjoy it.
What's your score? You got to give it a score.
What am I scoring out of again? 4 or 5?
Out of 5.
Out of 5, maybe a 3.
Okay, fair enough. So that's just an easy Sunday sipper.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jay, what are you drinking for everybody?
I am drinking the Yuengling Porter. It is 4.7 alcohol by volume, and it's one of the Yuenglings that I've never really had before. I think I've only stuck with black and tans when I've gone with the dark stuff, but I recently went on a trip with a coworker, and he mentioned that his favorite Yuengling is porter. So I do love porters, and I made me seek out this 6-pack tonight, and I'm really enjoying it. It is a good quality, overall creamy kind of full-bodied sipper for a porter, and I do think it is underrated. I think you don't see this around very often, but it's really good. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5, I believe. It's all around pretty solid.
All right, man. And Jay, I am drinking 1/2 of your beer. This is the Yuengling Black and Tan. It is a mixture of their porter with their premium beer. And if you've never seen their premium beer, it's the one with the green label and the red lighting. It is Yuengling Swill. It is the worst that you can get. Whatever they are selling Yuengling for in that store, premium is $2 cheaper. So this is that. It is 4.7% alcohol by volume. And I got to say, it's the porter that's mixed in it. It's pretty robust, and then you also get that little hint of a pills on the back end. Mm-hmm. It's not bad. I would far more enjoy the porter. I believe. I think the porter is just a better all around beer, better well crafted. It does have a little bit of like a pissy aftertaste, so I'm not crazy about that. I would give it a 3. Like I could solidly drink these with no problem, but I'm probably not going to get this again for a while. I think I just grabbed it because I haven't had it.
Right, in a while.
I was drinking the porter, so I was like, let me grab a black and tan.
Every once in a while, it's not bad,
Plus, it's cheap as shit. Like
it's
$8 for a 6-pack.
Right.
Like that's a lot better than like me and you who usually spend about $13 for a 6-pack generally.
Like a 4-pack. Sometimes, good craft beers are really expensive.
So that's going to do it for our beer reviews. Stick around because we are going to get into our review. You may have heard a few times throughout this that we were going to be reviewing Avengers Endgame. I did my best to cut those moments out, but I may have missed one here or there. But instead, as I said in the pre-roll, me and Jay are going to be reviewing High Life, and this is going to be slightly longer than a 5-minute review, but it will be
ish. It's still an ish.
It's still an ish. We're going to be spoiler free. And then I'll put up another spoiler warning so we can discuss the film in a little bit more detail because it's
hard to talk about this movie without spoilers.
Not only that, but what I mean is like there's a lot of things going on in the film, symbolism and other things that you need the context of what's going on in the story to really explain it.
Since we left the solar system, radio silence. Oh, hold up. Almost all of us are still alive. We were scum. Trash. Refuse that didn't fit into the system. Until someone had the bright idea of recycling us. Serve science.
Why do you keep taking this sperm?
I'll never have kids.
Someday. I know I look like a witch.
We had to begin the deceleration maneuver so the ship could approach a black hole. This is the main goal of our mission.
Do I look like my mother?
Special.
High Life is the story of Monty, played by Robert Pattinson, who is alone adrift in a spaceship with his daughter, and we see him and her trying to survive from her infancy to her teenage years. And all of the bodily fluids that the human body could possibly excrete are fully on display in this film. And that's really the only spoiler-free synopsis that I can give you. But you may think that means that we're going to be watching people shitting for an hour, like it's Into the Wild with Emil Hirsch. Right. But that's not this movie. It's not that at all. There actually is a pretty deep and I would say rich story here that is done in a very methodic way.
With a very clear direction and purpose.
It does. It does have that. I do think that it tells its story in a purposeful way to be vague, though, and that's one thing that I'm not crazy about. Like, so I like these. I like these movies that are sci-fi in nature. They have a sci-fi concept to them, but with a heavy dose of human nature mixed into it, and that is this 100%. But while watching it does jump around in time, and it's being purposely vague so that it can give you some sort of
something to ponder over and talk about.
Yeah, but I mean, it's being purposely vague for no reason. You can still, I mean, in my mind, I know some people
there's some aspects of it that can be portrayed or perceived as vague. I do think, because I watched it twice, 2 days in a row, because the first time I viewed this movie, it was a big, like, what the fuck did I just watch kind of experience.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was something there, and I knew I experienced something special and unique, but I guess I wasn't really prepared for it mentally. And so I watched it the next day, and I enjoyed it immensely more. And I just kind of followed the beats a little bit more, like the pacing of it, the slowness, the raw aspect, and the time jumps from as far as different kind of characters and time periods, and on Earth period of time, in space periods of time, things like that. So it all came together a lot easier for me on the second viewing. Dave just watched it one time, so obviously some things are going to be a little bit more.
1.5. I watched the first half of it, and then I had to go cook dinner. And then when I came back, I tried to start it from where I left off, and I was like, oh, what's going on? So I actually went back and rewatched the whole beginning, which is where I started getting the story from. But while I was cooking dinner, it did just keep playing. So I got bits here and there, and then when I went back and watched it again, all the bits kind of got put together. But even then, I was still like, okay. I mean, like, I get the concept of the movie. It's not like I need someone to mansplain it to me, but at the same time, while I'm watching it, to me, it just seemed like, and I don't want to say it meanders, because it doesn't, because it's very deliberate in the way it presents its story. So it's not meandering at all. I just wasn't happy with the way that it was portrayed to me at all. Okay. And I definitely, while there's certain things that I love, cinematic wise about this movie, especially a lot of the space shots and stuff like that, there's other things that I wasn't crazy about, like the interior of the ship. And I know this is very purposeful, leaves you nothing to be desired. It looks like they filmed this in an abandoned hospital or something.
Right.
And I know that there is a reason for that, and we'll probably get into it in spoilers, because this has to feel like a prison. This has to feel like a very hopeless type place that they are in, and there's a very specific reason why this place is so hopeless feeling and stuff like that. But it was very drab on the inside, and Pattinson, as far as like acting wise goes, didn't do it for me. I'm not like, I've never been crazy about him. I don't know what it is. It's just like a lot of times, like, his facial expressions just piss me off when I'm watching him. I don't know what it is. It's a personal thing. It's not so much of a knock on him. It's a personal thing.
No, I disagree. I think he did a pretty fine job in this movie. I think it's not anything to say that it's like one of the best things ever.
No.
It's not a great performance. It's a good performance. There's a lot of other roles that I preferred more.
Right.
I've seen seen most of all of his movies since Twilight, and they're all indie movies.
Oh yeah,
100%.
It's always done. Yeah.
It's all he's ever done, and they're all varied and relatively solid. I actually only say there might be only 2 or 3 other movies that were pretty weak, but I think it.
But not Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire, right?
You know.
He's fantastic in that. That's pre-Twilight days, baby. Cedric Diggory, what up?
But look, Christopher Nolan wouldn't have casted him in his upcoming film if he didn't feel strong about him.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm just saying that, like, here I wasn't crazy about him. Like, I didn't get to really understand the character at all. Because his story is all over the place, so you don't
we can get into that in the spoiler section.
You don't get to build a sense of his character until the end. Right. By the end, you now understand his character. But in the beginning of the film, you don't understand his character at all. You don't understand anything that happened, anything that's going on at all. So for a majority of the movie, I don't like him, right? Like, I don't like him. And then...
Nor most of the other characters, right?
There's almost no redeemable characters in this, with the exception of his daughter. And obviously that is a very purposeful thing that they're doing here. Like, they... she is new life. She is different than them, and he does point that out. I also didn't feel like a connection between them. Like, I didn't feel that while watching this. Like, I didn't feel that this was a father-daughter relationship. Now, granted, this would be a completely different father-daughter relationship that anyone else has ever had in the history of the world, because they're stranded alone. But to me, it seemed pretty devoid.
And I would get into spoilers about this more. It's hard to be spoiler free and discuss about certain things like that. He was alone on this ship for a very long time, and then all of a sudden he has a kid, a baby,
right,
all by himself.
But at some point, he had to nurture this child and raise this child, teach this child how to talk, and teach this child everything. So through those interactions, something.
But you're still hopelessly wandering through space, by yourself. I mean, it's kind of depressing, It
is depressing, but that doesn't mean you're devoid of emotion towards your child.
In that state of mind, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
also
hard to say. It's hard to say.
Also, there's gravity on this ship, and that just doesn't jive. I mean, this ship is a square. And
some of the stuff on the ship and like the technology and everything, it's perceived to be very far in the future. Well, to some degree, but
all the doors, like,
it doesn't make any sense. I know.
There's no, like, even the spacesuits don't even look like you'd be able to survive in space. I know. And I understand it's a super low budget. Like don't get me wrong. I understand
very low budget. Yeah, it's a proper indie movie.
Yeah, I understand that. But like all the doors, instead of like being like bulkhead doors, they are swinging doors with hinges, like, with a regular doorknob on it and stuff like that. Like, man, they spared every expense. It's the opposite of spared no expense. They spared every expense possible in this. The only expense they spent money on was a sex chair. That's where all the budget went to.
Robert Pattinson,
and a lot of
perfecting the black hole,
and a lot of white liquid. Like, they really spent a lot of money on bodily fluids here. All right, but so let's score it. Give it a score.
I'm giving it an A-.
All right,
it's my favorite indie movie of the year. I think it's really stuck with me, and I, especially in the second viewing, I really enjoyed what they did, and it was bold, and it was something that you'll never see really again on screen, I think.
Damn right I'll never see it again. So for me, I didn't hate it. I know, like, my nitpicks on it sound like I really hated it, but I actually really, really like the idea up behind it. I like the story, at least, and I do like the concepts that are here, and even understanding the limitations of the budget and stuff like that. Anytime I'm in a sci-fi world, I want to kind of like feel like part of that world, but one of the things they never really get into is the political climate that brought them to this place. Like why was this mission ever sent out there? Because clearly, like, the human race and Earth must have been in some dire straits for this to be the case.
Right.
There's no concept of that whatsoever throughout the
movie. You can read into it a little bit, but that's about it.
That's about it, right. And in my mind, I was like, oh, clearly there's some Children of Men type shit going on back at home, but
yeah,
they're not telling us that here. And so, I mean, while I enjoyed all of that, and I did enjoy quite a few scenes with Pattinson, there was a lot of stuff with this story that I just didn't I didn't go with, without getting to know any of these characters. I didn't care about them. Like Andre Benjamin, Andre 3000 is in this, and he has so few character moments, but yet I found I liked him best out of anybody in this entire cast. And it's the first time I've seen him since John Singleton's Four Brothers in anything in quite some time. But I was happy to see him here because he wasn't.
He was meant to bring any kind of humanity and normalcy, within all the characters. I think that's what it was.
And I would like to say that I'm an optimist but I'm not. You know me. Like, I am an extreme pessimist, but I do admire lightness in people. So once he's gone, and I'm devoid of that. Like, even the Revenant had moments of levity. Moments where I got to actually feel for Leonardo DiCaprio's character, even though he was mainly just grunting and crawling around most of the time. Here for Pattinson, he just seemed so void to me that he's almost not a character. And I understand that may be deliberate, but at the same time, it means that I can't resonate with him. So then I would like to resonate with the daughter. Like, I would like to have some connection there, but we spend so few time with such little time with her as a teenager that you don't really get time to like her or even see any type of relationship develop there at all. But I still did enjoy the movie for what I saw, so I'm giving it a B-. All right, Jay, let's get into some spoilers here.
Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning.
All right, so spoilers for this, and it really comes down to the fact that they are on a mission that is serving twofold here.
Right.
They are learning to conceive babies in space, which has previously been thought impossible due to the high levels of radiation. They're not able to conceive. So the doctor who's on the ship, who is a doctor who was stripped of her license and imprisoned for previous crimes, is sent off to space with a bunch of death row inmates
who volunteered to do this
because they thought it was freedom. And
it's a better alternative, put it that way.
So they
or more interesting,
or at least they thought.
Right.
So they get on this ship and they are sent on a mission not only to find out whether you can conceive babies in space, which to me, I always felt like that was the doctor's mission in her head. No one told her that she had to do that. I felt like that was her own sick, twisted little game in this in some way. But their main mission is to fly to a black hole and study both its effects and its energy output or input. Whatever. And that's what they're going out there to do, to study black holes. And they do come across a black hole at one point, and a girl who just committed a murder on the ship is sacrificed to the volcano, and she is sent out. And we see the devastating effects of going near black hole.
I liked it. I liked the visuals of that. I thought it was a pretty cool death.
Right.
And there's a lot of that. It just shows that with all this time and the way the characters are, because they are just savage prisoners and they opted to go out here. The one weird thing about it is, it's like, well, where's the real, like, there's no real authority figure. I mean, there is an authority figure.
The doctor was, but she's just as fucked as they are.
Yeah, like, what's keeping them in line? Like, what's the incentive? That's where I always struggle with a little bit from time to time.
There is a scene where she's walking down the hallway and all of them are locked in their rooms.
Right.
So there is some sort of lockdown, which means that there is some sort of punishment. Not to mention,
to some degree,
she is their lifeline. She's the one that's supplying them with nourishment. She's the one that's supplying them with vitamins.
Fun drugs too.
And drugs. And so she has her ways of keeping them in line.
Right.
And some of the ones that are harder to control, she's controlling them with sex.
Right.
So, and like I said, she's just as twisted as the rest of them.
Oh yeah, they all use the fuck box besides Robert Pattinson's character.
Right.
He's the only one that chooses to not offer his fluids to her in her experiment.
And that scene where the doctor, who's played by Juliette Binoche, she goes into that, and that scene is about 5 minutes long of her literally on the sex toy, just like on the fuck seat.
It's trippy. It's really trippy.
It's not trippy. I do not have weak sensibilities at all. It's gratuitous for the sake of it.
It is.
It's meant to show you her lust, her animalistic side, and that's exactly who she is. with these people,
right?
That she's in quote unquote charge of. So this ship is pretty much devoid of humanity, and it is almost, even though it's filled with humans,
besides the garden,
and it's devoid of emotion, right? But they all kind of have like this reverence and this worship for the garden, obviously meant to represent like a Garden of Eden in a way.
Sure, and I think it's the only place of hope and calm and peace,
right?
And everything else is just cold and stark and just cloth and metal, and there's nothing that feels like home or feels
right. And the ironic part of it is that these are people who quote unquote thought they were escaping prison,
right?
Only to find out that space is the largest prison you can ever go to.
Yeah, and a lot of them suffer the consequences for that, and just what's interesting is I think a lot of the kills make sense within the characters.
Well, you got a guy who rapes, he gets killed.
Right, but he was, from the very get-go, you could tell he was a little bit more of the wild child.
Right.
He was definitely popping extra pills, drugs. She was trying to keep him in line in that way.
Right, because he was the worst of them.
And yeah, just randomly jerking off in front of everybody without any, minor reason. And then all of a sudden, he just gets the urge to go and rape Mia Goth's character. When
I told you that, there are going to be like everything in this movie is about a bodily fluid. There's even a point where they show his shit going down a pipe into the black water, is what they call it. It's before it gets purified and turned into white water, which is what you use for bathing and drinking and stuff like that. There is blood in several different scenes. There's semen, there's breast milk, there's menstrual blood, there's a lot of bodily fluids.
That was certainly a point that Claire Denis wanted to have and show, and she thought she wanted to strip everything away to everyone's basic core reactions and desires and behavior, and I think
it's humanity at its worst, both biologically and psychologically.
Yeah, and I think this is her first English-speaking film. It's obviously probably the highest production cost, and I think she does a fine job trying to balance it. I mean, I think it's, I don't know what kind of budget she had to play with. However, it was effective enough. I think the garden obviously was an important thing. I don't think the little nitty-gritty details that we mentioned before, as far as the suits and the doors and the gravity,
I think that all takes a backseat to the human story that they're trying to tell here. So we see the devastating effects of a black hole, right? But
at least one of them.
But and the film ends with them flying into a black hole. Now, yes, that black hole looks completely different than the one they went into before, but we're left to kind of to our own devices whether they survived going into this, because supposedly in the middle of a black hole there's a singularity that no time exists, space doesn't exist, light doesn't
and suddenly they're just present, like in this area in space, and they look at each other and he's just like, shall we? And she says yes.
Right, but no one knows.
And that's that.
But no one knows what that means.
No,
right?
No.
That could be, shall we go into the afterlife, because our bodies were just ripped apart by the intense gravitational pull that we just occurred.
It's
but
true.
Our souls are intertwined. Soul meets body. Let's do this. But to me, watching this, they're dead. I know that there is supposedly the hopeful side of it as well, where you can say, like, who knows what's on the other side of that? It could be a completely other dimension. They could go on to be gods. There could be a baby floating in space, a fetus floating in space, like 2001. It could be any number of things in the middle of that black hole.
You never know.
But in my mind, they were ripped apart.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's implied.
But either way,
something happened.
Regardless of whether they were ripped apart or they're dead, they are free of their prison.
Right. Exactly. And I think
and God damn
that was the coolest thing about it.
This fucking movie just shows me so many fucking dead dogs. Made me angry. Get a dead dog in the stream. I
think it was a wasted scene.
Dead dogs eating each other.
There was 10 minutes of unnecessary time and footage. I mean, it okay.
Again,
so actually, that's not necessarily true. I actually think
it's more things that show you a lack of humanity. Because how do most people react when they see a dog? Oh, puppy, let me touch it.
That, but also I think you get a lot of good stuff from the daughter.
That's true.
Beforehand, she, he's trying to warn her, like, look, there might be people on that ship, and he's trying to like build, like this is a big deal, and she's like, all right, cool, that's fine, we don't need any help, but okay. And he's just kind of like laughs because like, this is a massive deal. This is like not supposed to ever happen. This is crazy. And she just kind of downplays it, and he kind of gets a chuckle from that. And then after the fact, yeah, she does. She's a teenage girl. She wants a puppy. She doesn't understand like why she can't have him on their ship.
Right, because who knows what filth and disease from all those dead dogs they could be bringing into.
So that's her initial reaction. And then after that, but like that's some character things from the daughter that helped me understand and empathize with their relationship a little bit more. But the actual going onto the ship and seeing all the fucking dead, I did not want to see that. I did not like it. That was stark.
It reminded me of like The Lobster, where like, she kicks the dog to death, and they make me watch it. And I was like, I didn't want to watch that.
Brutal.
I didn't want to watch that. And now
seeing a lot more of that in cinema, I feel like it sucks.
Because they know that dogs immediately rip at people's heartstrings. It's just the way of it. But, I still enjoyed the movie for the concept that it had. I do wish there was a little bit more, and I don't mean like backstory for the characters. I just mean like political backstory, because we do get to see him watching like these videos of like Earth, of like, and I think one is clearly meant to be him in the ocean. Like he's watching a kid just walk into the waves and stuff like that. And it's all things he'll never get to experience again. Like they all thought that at the beginning of their journey that they were going to get to come back.
Right.
There was a return for them, but it becomes very clear sometime around day 76,000 that we are not returning.
Right. Yeah. And I there's only one scene of the inventor of the ships or the project or whatever from a reporter on a train, and he says, and they didn't explain anything really.
Nope.
And it was one of those things where I don't know if it was editing issues, like maybe she just cut out a little too many scenes that didn't overly explain some
I think it's
things,
because the journey does it's not the destination, it's not what they're meant to find, or how this all came about. It's their journey. That's what matters. But for me, being kept in the dark about so much just takes away from the world, I guess, even though he is supposed to be the world and the daughter is supposed to be the world. Like that's all we're supposed to like really.
For me, I pieced together enough, for me to enjoy it. And for all of the, at least from what we know, all the other characters' reasons for being on the ship were probably worse than his, because he was just upset as a kid who killed a girl who killed his dog. And I don't know, another
dead dog.
I mean,
I can't wait to see Neil deGrasse Tyson's commentary on this movie.
Oh boy. Yes.
All right, so that's going to do it for Super Movie Brothers tonight. I do encourage people to check out High Life if you are into these indie movies. I would say like
the Jay's Indie Corner stuff.
If you're into Jay's Indie Corner, this is the first time we've done like a real review for a Jay's Indie Corner type movie,
and this is certainly one of those kind of films.
Absolutely,
it is.
If you're enjoying Super Movie Brothers, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That is how we grow. That is how more people will find us. That's what helps make the show just a little bit better. If you are really enjoying the show and you would like to help us out, head over to our Patreon. That is patreon.com/supermoviebros podcast. For just $1 a month, you can get additional content from us over there. We are, of course, part of the Podfix Network, so be sure to check out all the great shows that are part of the Podfix Network. You can head over to podfixnetwork.com. You can also see a lot of our movie cocktail recipes up there. Just click the menu tab and scroll down to movie cocktails. Our Trailer Park music was brought to you by Thomas Iannucci, so check him out on Spotify. He is a great friend of the show, and we can't thank him enough for giving us that Trailer Park music that we use. So I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.